T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Sequence Podcast. You got Space Tomato here, joined by two of the greats as we talk about the biggest community-run event in Star Citizen, running 8 years now, I believe, bringing in hundreds of people every year, and literally spawning servers in the game to make sure it runs smoothly. This is a marathon across the deserts of Daymar. They're going to be mixing it up this year with, I think, a couple new features. So I wanted to bring them in and talk about kind of how things are changing with server meshing, with engineering, with the bigger popularity of Star Citizen, and what's up to come in the event this year. It's coming up this Saturday as the podcast released, and it should be pretty fun, but I'll let you guys give the full spiel. Corsair, I'm going to pass it to you. Tell us, where do you come from? Who are you? What have you done with the Daymar Rally, and why? Well, thank you for joining me as well.
Oh, anytime, man. Thank you very much for having us. So yeah, I'm Corsair. I am from Brisbane, Australia. So I'm in the opposite of everybody's time zone. But yeah, I kind of have an events background, and when this all kicked off back in 2017, 2018, I just had this idea. Once I could see that, Daymar was on the roadmap, and the rover was on the roadmap, that we'd be able to do something like this. So when they were released, I kind of did a quick test and tried out some course routes, and then did a quick rule book, a website, did some Reddit posts and whatnot, and just kind of marketed it for a year. And then, I met Crucian not long after that too, and we kind of were able to do one of the first rallies. So that was 2018. So it's been going for a while now, but yeah, it kind of blew up real quick, and we doubled every year, and that's kind of how the rally itself got kicked off. So yeah, we didn't really race anything. We did like a bunch of little videos for a year, just marketing the event itself until we did the actual event. So we had like a full year of like sign up. And then that's when we got the numbers we kind of needed to really spread the word about it. And now we're ATMO Esports, and we do, stacks of events. But yeah, my background's kind of a little bit in events, and that kind of transferred over. And I have a little bit of an art design background and photography background, so that kind of transferred as well. And now we're sitting here with you.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because the two most impressive things about the Daymar Rally are probably just how good all of the media content, like merchandise, even the jerseys you guys are wearing, all of it looks and feels really good. And then the event itself, obviously it takes something to run an event that big for 8 years in a video game that breaks at the slightest whiff of a problem. But like, I think anybody who's been in the Daymar Rally can probably agree that it's always felt pretty organized, whether it was running through Discord or Guilded or in-game or whatever it might have been. Like, you guys have had a pretty good hand on keeping things running in Star Citizen, so props to that. Crucian, I'm gonna pass it to you, man. Where do you come from?
Yeah, so retired, not retired, sorry. A veteran in the US Navy, was served for about 9 years. Right after that, I kind of jumped in, or before that, I actually was a full-time content creator, part of the OG crew back then, being with like, Salty Mike, Astropub, WTF Asaurus, Sergeant Gamble. A lot of people don't,
Wait,
remember these guys.
I feel like back then, though, they
Yeah.
were known as Berserker and Twerk.
Oh yes, Berserker and
That's
Twerk.
right.
Yep, Twerk 17. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I was streaming Star Citizen since like 2016. Then when I left, like, the service, I wanted to do full-time content creation, but life took me in a different path, man. I went to, I was very motivated. I wanted to make streaming something full-time, especially with the Star Citizen community, and then I ended up, finding work at Astro Gaming, which is, owned by Logitech. And I became, I started doing events, all esports events, fighting game events. And then I kind of grew my passion for that, and kind of, and within 2 years became the esports manager for North America. And, that's where a lot of my experience comes from. And, casting, I've always wanted to do that stuff. And I only do casting for ATMO Esports. I've been offered to do other games and stuff like that, but I think it just takes up too much time. And since I'm so knowledgeable and I've been playing Star Citizen for so long, it's easy for me to just jump in and kind of be the voice of what we do
Yeah.
every single year. And I absolutely love this community, man. So I've been and also working on the back end with CIG. So, that's where I come from, man. I come from this, deep within this community for so long. And, meeting Corsair back in 2018, it was at Austin Citizen Con. As soon as he talked to me about his idea, funny enough, it was supposed to be, Saurus and me casting, and he just, never followed up and dipped out. And I just kept up with Corsair. And, the first Daymar Rally happened January 2019. And then from there, we just see the hunger for the community wanting to do more, more racing or even dogfighting has been growing very well every year. And, AMO Esports became born because of the community wanting to do more competitive events. And, we're trying our best to keep up with it as much as we have, a busy life, with other work. But we really want to continue to bring this stuff to the next level.
Yeah. I quite enjoy it, and I appreciate the casting experience you bring. I think it's always a good time to jump into the events, not just for the gameplay, because you guys are pretty interesting on the microphones. Like, there's a lot of banter to be had when it comes to not just Star Citizen, but also the creators. It's got a good community. Everybody's kind of pretty friendly with each other, so it's fun to develop some stories throughout these events. So you guys are both coming from a background that is very event focused. You got some esports in there. That's going to be like the central angle of this conversation is really where are these kinds of esport opportunities going in Star Citizen when it comes to not just racing, but like combat, as you said, we got mining, cargo hauling, different types of gameplay. What opportunities are there? But before we get into that, I do want to ask you guys, what is it that you actually do in Star Citizen when you're not planning out these events?
Yeah, it does take up a lot of time, but I always love checking out the new ships. I got to say, I know that people, every time a new ship comes out, I do love checking them out. I'm a big fan of the design. I think it's just a very unique aspect to the game. But when I do get a chance, I have been trying to earn a lot of coin in the game the last couple of years and just kind of practice those new roles like salvage and mining and have a good play at all of those things. I've always loved doing cargo hauling and just doing the tasks, but we get always end up getting back to Daymar at some point, and even if it's just cruising the surface and having a look at what's around at the time, that's pretty much all I will usually have time for when it comes to playing. I'll get on late in the evening and I'll have a quick look around. I have just started playing with the VR. I was a huge VR fan when it was kind of announced early in the game. I tried the whole Vorpex connection with the original Oculus and had a quick look at that way back in the day, and really got a feel for the scale of it, and got pretty excited, even though the frame rates were awful on the Vorpex conversion. But I've just chucked the Quest 3 on once so far since the patch, and yeah, that's going to add a whole nother level to the game. So I'm really excited to do a lot more VR stuff coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the virtual reality is a pretty surprising addition for a lot of folks, and I haven't tried it yet, but I hear I've heard in Elite Dangerous it did a lot to change the scale of the game, and it sounds like Star Citizen it's kind of the same.
Yeah, I think
How
they
about
fit well.
how about yourself, Crucian? Do you get much time to get into the game?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, what I'm doing in game is testing the stuff that we're normally kind of working on. I like to, jump in game and like I'll run the first leg of the Daymar Rally just on my own, just for fun, because obviously every year the terrain changes. We have this new Genesis Planet Tech that's coming along as well. So I actually do enjoy doing that and just kind of like, going out with some of the teams that are practicing and just kind of testing the terrain overall, so that way, I have the knowledge, of course, when I'm casting, and to be able to kind of, put that information out there and kind of let people know what to look for and things like that. Cause, like right now, The whole kind of like looking for a location when you're in a ground vehicle, it doesn't even work. There's no compass, so it's
Yeah.
kind of very difficult. So trying to get that knowledge and trying to do those runs in game on my own, is what I normally end up doing. Other stuff I love doing. I was doing the Wicklow missions with Walker the Sigma. It's crazy because there's so much. To me, the content that has been coming out, I'll go in game, play where it feels like an hour, and then 4 hours, 5 hours passed because you're having fun or you're trying to go up against other people within those contested areas. But that's normally what I've been doing in game recently. I would say in the past, maybe like 4 to 6 months.
You guys live and breathe Daymar, huh? Just love the sand in
Yeah,
your lungs.
yeah,
Yep.
we do. It's in our veins.
You gotten to check out Levski?
Yeah, yeah, I've been out there. Yep, definitely. Yeah, any new content, I usually jump out and have a look
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Have
yeah.
Did you do the Vandal smuggling missions they put in yet?
No, I haven't done. I haven't been able to do the missions yet, but
Uh, uh,
yeah, I still need to spend some more time in there. Yeah,
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 you guys.
I haven't gotten to the smuggling missions either, but I mean, man, I will say is that if people played back in 2.6.0 or all the way to 3.0 when they took away Levski, man, the difference is incredible.
yeah, it's
I
huge.
absolutely love what they
Yeah,
did. So
yeah,
Yeah,
it's massive.
yeah, especially like Delamar itself just actually looks like
yeah,
an asteroid now instead of just a small planet. You guys definitely
Yep.
come off a little bit more as like the sandbox kind of function within the game as opposed to go and take the close contracts and stories like that. Let's
Yeah, we
talk
spent a lot
about
of time. Sorry, man. I was just going to
no.
say with System 7 has the same kind of aspect to it right now as well, where all of the tracks are created in game. So we do a lot of R&D on testing new locations. When you say Levski, I actually asked one of the team members to see if they could build a track from the Levski area, if we can do any kind of ground racing in that space. It's going to be pretty difficult to kind of do that, but yeah, like we spend a lot of time in game from a PU perspective to create the track. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're right. You're 100% correct. Yeah.
Kind of scouting and stuff.
Yeah, scouting. Yep.
Well, let's talk about the big event. The Daymar Rally. We've been talking about it kind of in passing this whole time, but why don't you give the people who are new to Star Citizen maybe or haven't been paying much attention over the years an idea of what the Daymar Rally is, kind of why you created it, or maybe what was inspired by?
Yeah, so it's definitely inspired by races like the Dakar Rally. That sandy, duney planet was perfect when it came out. I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to do an endurance race like this, and that's what the Daymar Rally is. It's a 500-kilometer endurance rally, and it's a team based event, which I think is what sets it apart from other racing events with other organizations, even with some of our own other events as well. But the fact that you can race with a team, just like the Dakar Rally, where you have a main racing vehicle and you have a support team with you, that whole concept of racing with a team, I think, has made the rally quite popular. So yeah, so it's a 500-kilometer rally with a team. We have 3 different divisions. The checkpoints are quite simple. It's really the terrain that makes it a difficult experience. And anything can happen on that terrain. And if you don't practice well enough, it's easy to take a wrong valley or a wrong hill and lose a lot of time. So when you understand the terrain of Daymar, that gives you the advantage to kind of actually competitively race this event. You can see the difference between people who haven't practiced and the people who practice. There's a massive time difference in that there. But yeah, man, it's 500-kilometer endurance race, multiple divisions, team-based activity. This year we've added a little bit extra team activity with people's own security ship as well. So now not only can you support your race vehicle with a support crew and spare vehicles and repair based kind of ideas, we now have the ability to have a scout security ship with you and your team as well. So it's changed a little bit this year.
Okay. So how big is each team?
Teams run from solo, you can run solo, up to 5 people in that team. So yeah.
Okay. It is a really impressive idea that this is a team that has to go out there and strategize around an environment that everybody can take. Like, there's not a rule book It's not like you guys are telling people to go take a contract or a mission, and that mission has a meta way of working. Every year that I've gone out there and watched this event take place, I've seen people tackle it in different ways. It is incredibly satisfying to see. Do you think that there are any other games from what you've seen? I don't know how many games you guys have played. I don't get to see that many MMOs. But do you think there are any other games where you could see something like this being hosted?
Yeah, look, I find it hard to
Yep.
match that same like the feeling that I had when I saw Daymar and the Ursa come out and combining those two and being able to be in an FPS perspective and actually like walk out of your vehicle and repair it and look after
Yeah.
it. That's the concept anyway. I'm not saying you can do all those things now, but just that concept of first person to in-game vehicle simulation to being able to fly from different planets with no loading screens. There's not a lot of games, that can actually do that. Like Event Horizon, not Event Horizon, that other one. Uh, like
Forza?
when they added FPS, I guess they're trying to catch up in that space, and maybe you could do stuff in that as well. But there's not a lot of games that have that whole like first person experience to vehicle simulation. There's not a lot of games that do it as
Yeah.
well as Star Citizen. Yeah.
One thing I'll talk about too is that the car rally have their own video game, but the thing is like that, that game alone is limited, right? You can only race with like I think it was like 64 sometimes where games are maxed out. You can't really do, 300 teams. You can't really expand at that point because the servers can only hold 64 at that point, So even though I'm not, even though server meshing is playing a great part right now to continue evolving like the games for the game not to crash, etc. It's still, not as smooth as everybody thinks it is right now for us because we have all the entities on Daymar, but I know that once we get like, other forms of server meshing like dynamic server meshing, we should hopefully get a lot better improvement overall, and then we can continue to hopefully have instead of 100 teams on one server, we can have 400 in just one. So but there's no game of this scale that can do what we do, even if we tried. So
The cool part is that if you had gone back to 2016 and asked the folks at CIG what they thought that server meshing would allow to happen in Star Citizen, they probably wouldn't be like, oh yeah, there'd be a replication of the Dakar Rally, of course, and there'd be a huge race and people would get all these teams together and run. But you guys get to make that a whole thing within this sandbox that they've created. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's gone canon now too, so it's technically an in-game lore experience as well,
yeah,
which is cool. So, yeah.
yeah, that is very cool. That's got to feel good. You guys are
Yeah.
in the books. So, Corsair, you had mentioned the kind of dream of the rally, I guess, basically for people to be racing out there, to get out of their vehicle, to do the repair and the refuel and all that kind of stuff. Could you dive a little deeper into that? Like, what are the parts of this event that are still missing that you would like to see make it reach its true goal?
Yeah. Yeah, so ultimately, we would love to get to the point where the one racing vehicle is your only racing vehicle, and you kind of have to bring the items that you need, the stock that you need to support that one racing vehicle. Then it would become more of like a race against. It's become more of a team environment where you have your support team actually, supporting that race vehicle instead of just having a rollout spare vehicle. So engineering is one big leap into that space, obviously as well. But even still, like being able to repair the vehicle on site, you can use repair tools now as well. So some of those things are coming in, but it's just not stable enough, and engineering's only just entered, so it hasn't created us enough space to kind of be able to do that yet, but it's coming. It's coming, and that was the original dream, is that
Hmm.
you just support your original race vehicle. At the moment, everyone has to bring spare vehicles to replace their current broken one mostly. We're probably going to see some interesting stuff this year with engineering and what people might do out on the course. It's not heavily affecting the race vehicles right now. There's a couple of like time-based issues with some of the components where you race for long enough and you lose a component. Let's see what races do this year with the engineering. It's really interesting, but yeah, ultimately, mate, like medicals come in. That's kind of changed the game a little bit for us as well. We've had to kind of create rules around how medical gameplay works, but we're pretty close, in my opinion, and adding security to the team now. That wasn't really on the horizon when I first thought about it. And that may change again when dynamic server meshing comes in as well. We may be able to adjust that, and there may be more interest in a PvP aspect of it. But yeah, but right now we're getting a lot closer to that original concept of having the one race vehicle and the support team look after that vehicle, repair it, and continue to race. That way, it'll be a different race, right? It's about how quickly you can upgrade your vehicle, fix your vehicle to continue racing. So it'll
Yeah.
be a different experience. It'll be a different experience. You'll be racing against the repair time, like a pit kind of crew. You'll be racing against that time as well as other teams, which is cool. So yeah.
And I can imagine by that time there's better persistence. So there are
Yeah.
wrecks and possibly like NPC settlements out there around on the course that could cause
Yeah.
some obstacles. And you guys allow for combat to go between the racers, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Race vehicle can compete, can go into combat with anything, and support craft have different rules. But yeah, there's combat on site. Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty cool. How far is the
Yeah.
whole course?
It's just over 500. I think it's 514 kilometers when you actually step it all out. But it's around 500 k's. Yep.
514-kilometer race in a freaking video game. That's like a larger
Yeah,
space than
baby.
the video games I was playing as a kid.
Yeah,
Yep.
100%. 100%.
One thing I'll add too is that in the rally we have different checkpoints where in the longer run of it, the first checkpoint is only like 92.5 kilometers, so they can easily kind of go through that. But once they get to the longer leg, we're supposed to have refueling stations for ground vehicles as they go, so that way in case they have to maintain that one vehicle, we'll have those checkpoints where people can stop and refuel if they need to on the longer leg. But obviously refueling in Star Citizen also, it works for ships. They used to work for ships. I'm not sure if it still does or not, but we still haven't got it for ground vehicles yet, which is another part that we would need to kind of make get that full scale experience that we want.
Yeah. We're getting there. Not quite
We're
though.
getting there.
It is interesting to hear that while engineering is in the game, it's so fresh and so new that we're not sure how exactly it's going to affect it. It's not quite affecting the ground vehicles that much. It reminds me of server meshing coming into the game at the beginning of last year, and you guys were kind of like at the forefront of understanding how that was going to affect what was going on.
Yeah, that was a rough time.
I
That was a
mean,
rough time.
yeah, that was. I mean, we got crafting tier 0 now, which is incredible. So, like imagine that instead of preparing for the rally, you're practicing. Now you have to go, farm materials for,
Mhm.
for tires, or you got to repair an engine and you got to have these materials. So now you got to, craft it on your ship before you can go out and then fix everything. Dude, like that whole idea of bringing all that cohesively together in one race sounds pretty dang fun. So,
Yeah.
and just different than any other game out there.
And they're talking about these new vehicles. I think the new Anvil Ballista chassis vehicle. They said it was like a generalist ground vehicle, so it would have like medical, it would have a fabrication thing, it would have cargo. That would be an interesting leg of the race too. If people could have fabrication with them, you could do a little bit of mining, get some resources, and craft a fuse or two if you needed on the race. A crazy application, but
Mm.
it's nuts to me that those are the kind of possibilities it leads to.
Yeah, well, see, that kind of idea really helps the solo experience, right? So, if you need to choose a vehicle to run solo and you have to maintain that vehicle, like that concept would be great for that, because you can create stuff, you can store stuff, you can look after your own vehicle. If it breaks down, you can continue to race. So that would be a perfect addition in the solo space, and we might see more solo races. Solo racing is very limited. It's a very hard thing to do. We only have like 1 to 2 solo races per year, but there's always someone who wants to give it a crack. So yeah.
Yeah, I think oh man, I think there's just so much potential. I mean, the only reason I think that this isn't huge is because Star Citizen itself doesn't have the reputation for it to be. I think if there was an event like this running in, I don't know, say a game like Fortnite, it would be blowing
Mm.
minds because of everything that it allows for. But the scale is very small in Star Citizen still. Not the game itself, but like the amount of people it reaches. I can't wait to
Yeah.
see what happens when people really realize what's happening with events like this.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely the game plan, trying to like survive until release date, and see
yep,
what kind of boom happens at that point. But yeah, it's
yeah.
exciting, man.
Another very interesting aspect of the event is something that you mentioned briefly, and it comes from the security you have. So generally, there was a security team that covered the whole race in each server, and sometimes it was outsourced, sometimes it was in house, but it would be kind of separate from the race teams. Now you have security on a per team basis, and this is all because as an open event, you guys like to say pirates and people who want to cause problems, they can come by, they can camp out, they can try to attack the races. It's up to our racers to figure out how to deal with that stuff. Um, do you, how has that worked so far for the race? Do you feel like it has been a little bit more boring than you expected? Has it been more of a problem for the racers that they haven't been able to handle? Or has it worked out how you guys envisioned?
Yeah, well, we did 2 practices in the last 2 months, 2 like full scale practices with a large group of racers. Uh, First one was that we had some teething issues. I'll be honest with the first practice, trying to get that cohesive and um, having a particular policing force alongside. So basically, what happens is you've got each team has basically one security ship. Not everybody has to have one, so it's really a percentage of that the teams have, and then ATMO Esports has basically a policing force, which is a different size force than what we've had in the past, because we are bolstering numbers with the players. So comms was something that needs to be heavily worked on when it comes to delivering information to a large group of racers, in conjunction with the policing force. So by the time we got to practice 2, we had a few of those things fixed up and cleaned up. We had server comms connection to policing force connection to players, having a reporting system, and the policing force also being able to deliver information about what's happening and what they may be able to assist with. The coolest thing we had with the last practice was, and I won't go into this too much, but the coolest thing we had with the last practice is that we were able to get a large number of team security to respond to our policing force calls, and move entire groups of people to particular positions to assist in that support. So practice 2 was a very different experience, and we saw some really cool things that might be something we want to keep for the future. But yeah, the rally's a different story. It's going to have its biggest test to date when it comes to PvP, and PvP is great. We encourage it, not so much encourage it, but like we're in the open world, we're in the persistent universe. The rally is supposed to be in that world, in that
Right.
persistent state. um, so it makes sense that people can come and do whatever they want to do in that space, and it's up to us to organize and look after the rally. And but yeah, we have put a little bit of onus back onto the teams to kind of help us and support us, because it's not an easy thing to do, and people think it's easy. It's not easy. So teams can now have their own crack at it, and if there's criticism around it, like, it comes down to the teams being able to communicate and support the rally as well. So yeah, it's going to be a very different experience this year.
How does it usually go when it comes to the pirates?
We've always had successful rallies, and we've always had winners cross the line. Some people are unfortunate and they don't make it because of pirates, but we've always had successful winners. We've always had top 3 every division, every time. We've always been able to run it. That, you know, each year is a little bit harder than some others, but we still, even with patches and glitches and server issues and pirates, we still run the rally every year. We just always find a way to work around it. We just have to figure it
Yeah.
out. So yeah.
The one thing I want to add quickly too is that you know, when it comes to defending, it's actually like 300% harder to defend the rally than it is for anybody to attack, and that's because people, you know, unfortunately, they're not going to play fair. They're going to use exploits. They're going to dupe their ships. They're going to dupe, you know, capital ships. They're going to dupe all this stuff, and they're going to do, you know, blocking, you know, respawn med beds. Like people do a lot of stuff just to want to have the advantage and attack. But you know, I think if it was balanced on both sides, I think it would be, you know, I think we could do definitely a 10 times better job at defending the rally. But I mean, because of those exploits and I think over the past, I would say 4 or 5 years, it's always been easier, you know, for offense rather than defense, unfortunately.
Mhm. When it comes to server meshing, like we said last year, it was kind of experimental. It was brand new, so we didn't know how it was changing everything. Do you feel like you have a better grasp of understanding how server meshing and like the actual functioning of it is making the Daymar Rally easier or more efficiently run, or has it not changed things too much?
It's changed the race considerably. Obviously, like we used to run upwards of 14 servers when it was back on the 50 to
Jeez.
100 mode. So 14, like, so rostering and staffing has become simpler. Like we can now have much larger servers, cut it down to say 4 or 5 servers or whatever we end up doing this year, and then that allows us to reduce the staff numbers, but it does open up a larger space for other people to join and be a part of the rally as well. So you kind of rostering for that experience. But apart from the game, the rally itself being a different experience from a staffing and rostering perspective, since last year and it came out, like I was a server lead, which means that I gather a party from a rostered server. I launch that server, and obviously because it was new, there was issues with launching into game, and we would try and do 100 people, 110 people, and I literally just had to keep going over and over until I could get our teams in. I think I did like 60 launches or something between 50 and 60 launches to get our team. And like I said, we don't quit. We just keep going. Like we just keep going until we get a race happening. There's no quit behind us. But this year we just did our last 2 practices, and you can spawn 250 people into one server, like first go. Like it's greatly improved as far as getting a party into the server. The only thing is though, with that amount of people, that amount of entities in one space, the frames drop considerably. There's still some performance
Yeah.
stuff to handle. So we've made decisions around how we're going to handle that between our last 2 practices. So yeah, and like from what I understand, when dynamic comes in, they can switch power basically from one part of a shard over to another part of the shard that has the population where the population is, and actually increase the performance quality in that space. So that'll be another improvement in the future. But yeah, it's like we always wanted it. We want to race everybody in the same server, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see. It's promising. Yeah.
That's really cool to hear that it has made party launching that much better. I mean, a lot of players I think will say that overall things like party launching, getting into the right server, just in general, the stability of the experience in Star Citizen's gotten better over the last year. But you are at the absolute peak. If we're talking about a solo player, you're at the other end of the spectrum of stress that you're putting Star Citizen under. So
Yeah.
it's cool to hear that even at the top, 250 player party launches are actually happening smoothly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
uh,
It's impressive.
I want to talk more about the idea of server meshing in the Daymar Rally, and I guess more so an idea that they've been talking about recently that's dependent on dynamic server meshing, that is instancing. So we mentioned the piracy possibilities and just the aspect of this being an open world kind of race. But what if CIG told you they could make an instance for the Daymar Rally? Is that something that you guys would be interested in?
True, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, I don't. We always want look. We always want the Daymar Rally to be a part of the PU, right? That's what's in the lore. Now if we make it an instance, then it doesn't, give people. I guess I mean if pirates can come in that instance and then make it feel like it's still part of the PU and the performance is better, I don't see why not. But at the same time, I rather it continue to be part of the persistent universe no matter what. Like I said, we don't mind if people are coming to attack and stuff like that. Like it's part of the race. It's the filthiest race in the verse for a reason. And I just it's if it takes away from that experience, then I would say no. But if it can continue with that experience and help improve, having 1,000 teams or 2,000 people in an instance, and we can still make something happen, I would totally be done for that.
Okay. Yeah, I do wonder how that would change the event. I think
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot
because
of people. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say because instances is just gonna like when you're in an instance, you're no longer an entity in that shard or that server. You're somewhere else, and
Mhm.
it's pretty much how do we say it? It's already like pre-made content that that when you go into that instance or whether you do it every so often, it just gets reset. And I don't know if it falls into that because the Daymar Rally is a race, and I know they want to use instances so they can kind of lower entities, especially when it comes to missions or going into, like, let's say a massive cave that is going to take you guys like 2 hours to run through. I think those are way better instances of usage, for them to use it at instead of like, us doing it as a race, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I also think that the format just really benefits from being open in the way it is. It would
Yep.
be a real bummer to not. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but to go out on the race and like see something from before the race out on the field, just to kind of
Mm.
remind you that you're not just playing a game. Well, you are playing a game, but like it's not just some closed course. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Look, honestly, there's a couple other things to add to it. Like, we have done a couple of we kind of have like contracts that nothing really occurs payment wise with any of this. It's really just kind of in law contracts, right? So we have PvP are technically like like not PvP, sorry. Our policing security force is kind of like a contracted group of people. We have a refueling contractor with Ultima as well, so that kind of is in there as well. But when you talk about persistence of things on the track and whatnot, we also last year tested a salvage contract as well. So we had the salvage team out on the site to kind of, if they win, like basically if they win that contract with us, they're allowed to salvage whatever's remaining on the field and clear that field out, and adding those extra ideas of like in law jobs on the field in conjunction with that. And obviously in the future with real estate and like geotags and having your own um, building space is going to change the track too in regards to that as well.
Yeah.
But all those persistent elements and that kind of instant style, like that's going to be something that we want to keep. So instances will probably damage that a little bit as well. It's hard to say at this point, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Instancing's a weird one, but a lot of people got a lot of opinions about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of servers, has has CIG possibly hinted at or made any mentions of support for this event to see if things can run a little smoother?
Yeah, like COG have always, been pretty good as far as like just communicating with us. That like there's no direct support really. It's just kind of hearing about our ideas of what we'd like to do and our dreams of what would be in it. And we've kind of like given them lists over the years of things that we'd like to see. And it's really just about them trying to get their game done first before they really focus on doing a lot of these things. But obviously they've given us a little bit of credit as far as putting the rally in canon and those kinds of things as well. So that, they've paid some respect in different ways. But I think in the future, once the game's released and they can be in a marketable state where they earn money from a greater audience, then I think maybe we'll see some improvements to like racing tools and player-driven racing tools, persistent racing tools. So yeah, I have no idea what they will let us do with the list that we've provided, but at least they've had the conversation with us, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
No extra DGSs for this year's event though.
Nah, mate, nah. Sorry
Uh,
about that.
Yeah, I'm even though I still got to give him credit because I'm pretty sure because they watch it every year, right? Even apparently Chris Roberts will watch the Daymar Rally every year, and we normally send them like all of our notes and everything after the event, the report of how many players do all that, and then I think normally Tyler writes up something like that goes company wide and does highlights and tells a story about the rally. So
Yeah.
we may not know it, but I'm pretty sure somebody on the back end is probably helping us out doing something. So and it's appreciated. It's funny enough, last year everybody thought that I think somebody said they leaked something and they thought we had private servers, but we didn't. It was just that they were trying to they were trying to just help us launch the servers, and that's all they were doing. Trying to do outside of that, like that's it. Like and we respect it because the focus is them developing that game and getting that game to to that to launch or whatever it is, or the focus is not to concentrate on making esports the main thing of Star Citizen. That's not the main thing. The main thing is going to be the entire game, the functionality, the MMO aspect, the sandbox aspect of the game.
And they should have a vested interest in what we do, right? Like we're getting 250 people in a party. We're launching 1,000 people, across a bunch of servers at one point in time. Like they should be interested in seeing what that does to servers, and then once we have all those entities in one spot, what that's doing for server meshing. Like it's in their interest to be interested. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's helpful. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's the same way in which you guys are providing entertainment. That's marketing.
Yep.
Even if you're saying they're not going to turn Star Citizen into an esports game, it still shows that esports can happen in Star Citizen, which is pretty cool on its own. But somebody's always got private servers, right? If you're not on them, then they're probably private. the amount of times the amount of times people have told me that like there's some private servers that CIG spins up for YouTubers and Twitch streamers. I'm like, where can I get on that? Because it's all the orgs that we're playing with, right? It's all the people that we're playing with. I'm like, can you guys get on these servers? Can I join you, please? But yeah,
I'm gonna be straight up honest, 100%. If they ever, from my understanding of the situation, if they ever spin up a private server, it costs them. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I've traveled to a lot of bar citizens with and met the CIG team. They run pretty frugal, man. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. They run pretty frugal.
a little stingy.
Yeah. So that's that's where I'll put it right now.
Then people, this is where people pull up the pictures of their offices.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you don't make devs happy, is the game gonna not be made? So you got to make the devs happy, man. You
Yeah,
got to have that
yeah.
environment,
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of an interesting point. Not to get off topic, but like if you can't pay devs a lot of money, like like your competitor might every year, you could put in a lump sum to at least make like their surroundings really nice and be like, yeah, well, you won't get paid as much, but it's really nice here. I don't know. It's interesting equation you got to run.
the
Go
the
ahead.
one thing I'll say really quickly is that like, and I know over the years Blizzard has had their own issues, but I'm gonna say it here is that the environment that they have in their offices, especially like when you look at the Manchester office, man, the vibes are very good. Like, you're fed. You don't have to worry about going to spending money on lunch, and you can do your best work, right?
That's nice.
If you need to take a 15-minute break, have a sip of a beer, that gets you a little bit loose to have kind of get your ideas flowing and kind of get things going faster. And that's the kind of environment, especially as a dev, you want to have, because imagine all the negativity everybody gets every time when a patch doesn't work out or something. That they get stressed out. So having that environment truly helps.
Got to have that employee bar for every patch launch when you like, okay, we spent the last 2 hours on Spectrum, everyone. Let's hit the drinks. All right. features. We've danced a little bit around the features that will complete the Daymar Rally, but I wanna make sure I've covered everything. Um, are there any standout features that you would really like to see CIG add that they've just been kind of not doing over the years that you think would make this event work a lot better?
Probably a ground vehicle compass. That would be up
That's pretty
there. I
straightforward.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there. I think that's the first one that comes to mind. Like, honestly, though, I like the fact that the support craft can, guide and navigate and give advice on where the vehicle can go. I actually really like that aspect of it. I know that a lot of racers want a compass, so especially if the solo component of this rally is very, very small, so it would help those. But ultimately, that is a lot of the feedback that I see when it comes to uh, features as well. But obviously, just repairing the main race vehicle in every aspect is also what I want to see. Yeah.
It'd be cool if you could. I guess this is a popular mechanic in games, but like a spot mechanic where you press a button and it just kind of pings somebody on a spot where they could go, and you could send that to your party mates down on the ground if you're in the spotting ship up above.
Well, yeah, distance tracking is the other big topic for
Right.
us as well. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
That's
yes, yeah,
always
yeah,
seemed to be kind of an issue is getting good distance tracking across
yeah.
all the
We tried so
racers, huh?
many things. Yeah, we're trying a bit of a hybrid thing. We are working on an app that's separate. We're trying a bit of a hybrid situation this year, and we'll see how that goes. But we want to really nail that down. It's unfortunate we haven't completely nailed that down yet, but we've got some good people. Like, we got a guy Dexter working on stuff all the time, and he's working on this app for us. So hopefully, we'll have something that can produce proper longitude, latitude information, and it's automatic, and it'll have like security calls. You press a button, it'll call security. It has like those kind of functionality items in it that we want to give to racers, so they have a really good proprietary tool from ATMO Esports that can help with all of this stuff. So
That'd be amazing.
yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you
One
get
of
that, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to quickly mention that has been the biggest thing, and just for people out there that don't know, that everybody at Atmo Esports is pretty much a volunteer, even us, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're admins, we're all volunteers. So the people that are helping us build the website or helping us build these tools, where everybody is putting in their free time because of the passion for the community. So I'm just gonna put it out there that if anybody has a couple hours to help out, please let us know. That would be super helpful. But because I think that we can find a solution for the distance and stuff, but it's just that the time it takes to build something that makes sense is time consuming.
Yeah.
And the right person. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
too.
Well, whenever that is figured out, let me know, because I think my org doesn't let me race because I'd just be off in the wrong direction. I'd just completely off. Dude, even when I'm trying to fly and track the racers, I'm like, wait, what happened? I'm on the wrong side of the freaking moon sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. You just do your thing and document it. That documentary did was really cool, man. We loved it. We really love it. So
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I really enjoyed that first one. It was kind of documentary style. I hope to do something like that again.
Yeah, it
Um,
was great.
I'm realizing, so you guys think they're going to be dropping Alpha 4.6 before the rally or after? What's your bones telling you?
Well, they usually drop something before the rally every year, so that would be my guesstimate.
Yeah.
Plus, it's the
Okay.
24th of January. Something's due. Yeah, I would assume that it's going to be prior to the rally. Yeah.
Okay. So,
My bones are telling me that if there's bug fixes that will help the rally, they'll release it. If there's not, they might skip it a few days after. That's normally my
yeah.
gut feeling on when they do the patches.
When you talk about, like, they're not necessarily telling you guys they're doing a bunch of stuff to help, but you feel like that might be kind of the thing that they do to weigh in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I think you're onto something there. So with 4.6 then coming out before this, do you think that lamp is going to make a difference to you guys in terms of running security or the spotting ships or anything like that?
No, not particularly. I think the people adjust their screens to suit, and we have never restricted any gamma upgrades on
Okay.
your end to race. So in that aspect, like in my mind, the first thing is like that POV would look cool on camera, like doing that POV and seeing what that looks like, just from like this is what this person's experiencing right now, and dealing with that like night mode kind of thing. That would look cool, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to affect the rally in any way, as far as the fact that, you know, reshade or gamma update like increases can support you in that aspect, which people already do. So yeah,
Yeah.
but the POV would be cool.
Yeah. Well.
Other features though that we're really missing, I would say, is just being able to manage party markers accordingly.
Yeah.
That one has always been tough too, because normally once we launch, like back then we used to stay in a party so that way people can kind of see exactly where they need to go. But the thing is, party markers get so bugged. Our camera team don't know who they're following. So it's tough. Party markers and that whole system, I'm hoping can get a good. I guess just social in Star Citizen needs a full,
Don't get me started.
improvement. I know.
I'm like, it
Yeah, it's a
sounds like
good
you're talking
point.
about social tools, Crucian.
Yep.
Yeah, the party markers are either like a gigantic blue cloud of lagginess, or they just disappear and you don't know who you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That would definitely help. Um, let's talk about your other events real quick. I wanna touch on some of the other things that go on throughout the year and maybe other possibilities. What? How about for either of you? What's your favorite event that you run throughout the year that's not the Daymar Rally?
Uh, it's a hard choice. I think I know what Crucian might say, which I might go in a different direction. I actually yeah, it's hard. I like where we're at now with what we have, because we're trying to do something a little bit different with two of our other events, as far as taking it onto championship level, and like, if we're doing live events, including these other two events in that aspect of like, this is the championship round. So from that perspective, Gravity Rush and Fight or Flight kind of do that. They have that really competitive kind of nature about them, which I like, and it's very separate from the Rally and System 7. We basically have two like Arena Commander style events that are more competitive and have more rules. They have less, PU elements, which allow them to be tightened for competitiveness. Whereas the Daymar Rally and System 7 are in open world environments, and they take a lot more manipulation and creation to make. And I'm still in that world. I'm still my head's still kind of in that world where we go and we scout a track, we build a track, we test a track. Like I built half, the tracks last year for System 7 with Dexter as well, and some other members that scouted for us. And I still really love the System 7 as far as that goes, and like making tracks. So I'd say System 7, but yeah.
Okay. And well, I gotta say before I move on, the fight or flight is one that has always interested me. I've never competed because I suck at flying and fighting, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But I am getting my dual stick setup finally this year, and I might actually practice. So I'll be interested in, if I'm not competing, I'll at least be following it more closely this year. But I do like that one, and I got to say, just like with the Daymar Rally, love the branding around that. I think that's something you guys always nail really well. It's like the branding and like merchandise is always really fun, interesting to look at. All right, that's my
Yeah, no, it's a
aside.
good point. It's a good point. When we first did the purple and pink kind of like styling back in the day, I was like, yeah, this looks fantastic. And we were using Yul Keke. I'll give a call out to Yul Keke. He was the inspiration for some of those original images. He was using a lot of purples and pinks across
Yeah.
these particular images that he had, and I was like, that looks so good. And like I borrowed that whole concept and brought that across to the branding. So yeah, it looks, yeah, I love it too. I love the
Mm-hmm.
branding in that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sorry, crew. It's your turn.
Oh, I, I
No,
want to
you're
say, I want to say
good.
there, just the shout out you gave to UKK, one of the OGs. If you guys are looking for virtual photographers,
Oh yeah.
one of the people to definitely look up. That's EUL_KEKE. Really, really good. Like,
Yep.
make Star Citizen look like art.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And he does photography for other games too, like Cyberpunk, and he's done all of that, man. And his stuff
Yeah,
is always incredible. So,
fantastic.
um, I want to go through this real quick for the people that don't know, right? You have the Daymar Rally. That one is full, like we talked about it throughout the day or throughout the podcast. Full endurance race. It can last up to 1 to 10 hours, depending on if you're a beginner or not. You got the System 7, right? This one is more of a competitive racing league. We kind of evolve it around F1 and those rules, and then we kind of make those rules our own within the verse. And then it's called System 7 because you're going to different systems and racing over the span of of a few months. And then you got Gravity Rush. Gravity Rush is just a fully just you know the most competitive racing league for individuals that you can find out there as well, right? And that's all in Arena Commander. Then you got Fight or Flight. Fight or Flight has been evolving over the years. It used to be a lot of 2v2. Last year we did 3v3. It is competitive dogfighting, by far my most favorite event ever. The action is incredible. The way that pilots really push the limits of these ships, whether it's the old what do you call it, the old flight system or the new one. I think that people find a way to level up that ship no matter what, right? And one of the greatest things that we did was we took it last year and we went from 2v2 to 3v3. And when you do 2v2, you have a hierarchy of ships that are going to be the meta no matter what. Now, when we went to 3v3, that completely changed. And believe it or not, a lot of people do not like master modes, but master modes gave
I couldn't
utility to
imagine.
certain. Yes, so master modes gave utility to certain ships. So now people were using ships and they had different roles. So as they were improving master modes, people weren't using the same ships in 3v3. There were so many differentiations of ships. It made the entire tournament 1,000 times better to watch and to focus on and to cast and to really get excited over what ship somebody's going to pick in this next matchup because of this situation. It was
Mm.
by far like the best year we've had Fight or Flight, for 3v3. And a lot of, PvPers are like, oh, why can't you guys do 5v5 or 4v4? Because you get more of that. It's all a matter of like being able to continue to capture their screens because we all have to do it manually. There's no spectator mode. So if we go any further, it's going to become way too confusing to watch on screen. So that's why we got to limit it to about 3v3. But man, it's an incredible tournament. So if you do get the chance to experience it, I would highly suggest yes, practice and join up.
Yeah, it looks exciting, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it changes. All of these things keep changing because Star Citizen changes so much, and I am extremely enticed by the idea of what happens to all of these types of events when Star Citizen is an actual game. It's completed. It's not as buggy. It's got a much larger community that's more regular. Because I just see this going very far, competitively. In terms of the market you guys are getting, obviously there are different racing leagues in Star Citizen. There are different levels of people interested. Some people just bounce off of the AC levels. Some people like to get into the leaderboards. Some people go to every single racing organization there is. Are you guys trying to aim for a certain level of racer? Do you want all of the racers? Do you want people who are really hardcore, just people who are kind of more casual but want to compete? What is the market that you're looking to capture with Atmo or with your separate events?
Like yeah, we do want to hit that pinnacle of like the best of the best for the Gravity Rush and the Fight or Flights, that kind of style of event. But for instance, with System 7, that's kind of still falls into that space as well because it is a ground racing league, like we have a ship racing league. But with System 7, like we still have like a qualifying rounds as well, so you can still allow everybody to participate. You might pull a wild card out of that group and they might join the best of the best. They might not realize that they are really good at it, or you'll have people come in that are surprising and that are kind of under the radar, that practice all the time but don't compete on the courses. But you will find that most of the races that we currently have and that compete in our events are all practiced, all prolific. races that are across everything. It does with every event. Practice makes for a good champion. So yeah, everything we do is still competitive, right? Everything has a winner. So it will always come down to who is the best practice driver, racer, fighter. But like the reason I mentioned that is that we still hold some qualifying time slots for anyone to come and participate, which I think is important. So yeah.
Okay. So just trying to get the whole swath of the market, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And well, everybody should be able to play it. I hate excluding anybody who wants to join,
Yep.
you know. So, and even with Fight or Flight, with the 3v3, it kind of allows for people to bring someone into their team who may be newish or is interested.
Hmm.
And you can, that third member is like a newer person, but two are really experienced, and that helps the whole group. So you can do it in a few ways, but we still are very inclusive of everybody. Everybody should participate. Yep.
All right. How inclusive are you when it comes to those of the more industrial mindset then? Are you going to stick to racing? Can we expect some mining competitions or cargo Olympics in the future?
Look, we have a lot going on. Like we have four main pillar tournaments. We have Enter Atmosphere on top of that. We do some like sponsor events occasionally as well, or charity events too sometimes as well. So we leave space for those. Honestly, mate, with those all on the calendar, it is quite difficult to put another whole tournament or even like a tournament day, because there's branding involved, there's a lead up, there's qualifying, there's
Sure.
administration, registration. So like you have to, it's not just one day, it's like we spend months preparing for one race so that we do
Hmm.
it correctly. So it is hard to add another tournament. Like we've been asked this question many times about a mining competition and whatnot, and I'm sure salvage could come into that realm as well. I guess as you can see, we're in the more traditional space of racing vehicles that look like they're race vehicles, but but like we're interested in it. It's just that whether we have the time to do that. If we had a larger team and we had a separate division built just for that, but like we said, we have volunteers, and it's hard to manage that time to include anything else that we do on top of what we do right now. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. It is something that you'd be open to in the future.
Oh yeah, if we had the time and a team for it, I would have no problem putting a tournament together. Because I think we've had a lot of questions about them, like a mining competition forever, and I think there'd be enough interest in it to do it. It's just, yeah, it's just I don't know. For us, some of those races need to translate. Tournaments need to translate to a live experience sometimes as well. We think about that when we design tournaments, but yeah, man, like we wouldn't be shy to not do it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had some ideas, right? We have this thing called the ATMO Social, and the ATMO Social is normally like us gathering the community and doing something like special. Like we did, what did we do, Corsair,
We did
last
the
year for the?
exosuits. We did the
Yep.
exosuits. We did jump
So
jetpack race. Yeah.
so jetpack racing. So there's always if there's always an idea, and people are willing to help because people bring ideas and then they never want to do anything. They just want us to do it. Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
always happy to make these limited one-time events for the Atmos Social, or maybe when we do a charity event, maybe we do a mining tournament. But the thing is, like, there's so many aspects to it, right? Like, how interesting is this going to be on the broadcast? How do we make it interesting? How do we kind
Yep.
of bring that energy that's going to really make this, make people want to watch, or even, donate if it's a charity to the cause? Like, how are we going to bring all these elements together? And that takes up a lot of time. One idea that I've always wanted to do, and this was back then when low flying was so popular. We wanted to do like a low flying stunt competition, and we wanted to do something like Red Bull to do like that, but it kind of never came to life because of when the new flight model came in. It kind of like didn't really that didn't really coincide with low flying. But that's these are small ideas that we have like in our back pocket that one day we'll just like, let's do this year, and
Yeah.
and let's see how it works out. So
Yeah. Nobody ever knows or thinks about all the complications besides the people who are actually running the event. It's a lot you got to consider besides just the day. Like as Corsair was saying, it's not just a 1 day thing. It's what happens
yeah,
next year and in the
Mm.
off season and all that stuff. I feel you. Well,
Yep.
yeah. A good idea, real quick, was when me and Corsair were talking about Fight or Flight, like we wanted to do org on org battles, but the thing is, like, we
Yeah.
only had like 5 teams sign up, and we're like, that's not that much. And then all of a sudden, I was like, ding, 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 like let's do 2v2, let's do something that is more competitive, and that thing just, it kind of
Yeah.
it kind of blew up. And
Yeah.
while PvP was in the PU in the beginning, that 5 model, the 6 DOF, 6 degree of freedom, man, it brought some insane maneuvers throughout that entire tournament. It was fun that first year.
Hopefully, they can get back to something that brings a lot of fun
Yep.
combat. All right, guys. This has been a fantastic talk about what you do and ATMO Esports and the Daymar Rally. And I really appreciate you both bringing in more information about those. But something I've been doing in the podcast over the last several months has been making some hot takes, some predictions, some hot button topics from everybody on what they think might be happening in Star Citizen or what they hope happens in Star Citizen over the next, I don't know, however many months, 3 to 6 months. We'll call it the soon term in Star Citizen land. So Crucian, we'll start with you today. What would be the prediction that you'd like to have down on the record for the next time we bring you on to put you on the spot and remind you of the ridiculous thing that you predicted?
Oh man. And is this pertaining to the rally you said?
Oh, it can be anything Star Citizen related.
Oh, it can be anything.
Yeah.
Oh man. I this is gonna be a bad one, but I will predict that we will have, hopefully, by the next time we come on, our ground vehicle physics fixed and the Ranger released.
Oh, the Ranger.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if the Ranger released, the Daymar Rally is gonna increase by 10 times because of how much people are gonna want to even do that in the beginning. But
It,
that's my prediction. I know it's probably not gonna happen because not that I have insider information. It's just that they haven't even talked about ground anything in a long time. They're concentrating on pushing patches out and fixing things in the game. But my lord, like, it would make my entire year just to get that, the new vehicle ground physics in place and the Ranger out. So
dude, if CIG said that the Ranger was in production, there would be millions of space nerds around the globe curling their toes in excitement. There's a lot of
yeah.
people are excited for that, but at the same time, it would be very, very bad if they said that they were working on the Ranger before they fixed the ground physics, because then that's going to be a mess, dude.
So
Yeah.
so they actually have to fix the ground physics first in order to make 2 ground vehicles even work. But right now, as this might be a bad word for a lot of people out there, but the Ranger is just as like rare as people wanting the Man Merchantman.
I was just gonna say the Merchantman. Yeah, that's
Oof.
funny.
Yeah, my bad, guys, my
He
bad.
brought it up, man. We tried to go a whole episode without bringing it up. You guys can blame Crucian for this one in the comments.
Oh, I'm so
sorry.
sorry. I didn't
You
know that
got
was a tradition.
people falling dead. All right, Corsair, what's your big prediction then?
Well, mate, what about plumbers and fully functional toilets and waste management? What about that? You reckon
He
that'll
wants
make it
the
in?
poop
Yeah.
gameplay, folks.
Nah, look, I'm actually a huge fan of the Pioneer, and I'll tell you how that relates. So basically, obviously we've had it announced. We've seen the gameplay loops. I know that in a year maybe we'll see some small parts of that come in. But my plan originally when it first came out, and because in my mind, like owning the Daymar Rally track space might be something that we need to think about, right? So I'm thinking about that. But what I'd also like to do is I'd like to be able to build enough buildings that I could actually write Daymar Rally on the surface of Daymar and you can see it from orbit. So that's that's going to be my free time activity. I would have answered that for you when that comes out.
This man's an
But hey,
advertiser.
yeah, Pioneer. Why not? Like persistent
Pioneer.
wording written across the. Yeah, I'd love that.
All right, the Pioneer in game. Let's see when that happens then, man. Well,
Yeah.
I got you guys down for that. I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna add a little extra and poop gameplay. Of course, sir.
Plumbers, yeah, let's get some plumbers in
The
there.
plumbers and the poop. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for joining me for this one. It's been a blast. I appreciate you every single year allowing me to, pick your brains and force you to come on here to talk about your event and then go and cause mayhem on the track. It's amazing what you guys are doing. And I think everybody who joins Star Citizen should understand that this happens. It's easy for us to miss all these kinds of things, but this is the biggest player run event every year, biggest event in general every year. But it's such a good look at the crazy things that Star Citizen can allow. Even if this never becomes some breakout esport, the fact that we have an endurance race taking place on a moon with like a different form of gravity and spaceships and all this stuff, it's wild. So before you go, can you let folks know where they can go to find more information? Maybe sign up for future races. The Daymar Rally signups are closed already, folks, but for other stuff you guys have been talking about or for next year where they could go?
Yeah, so atmo.gg has links to all of our tournaments. So if you want to see all of the tournament options and websites there, you can check out what each of the tournament is. And you can, when signups are open, you can sign up there. Our Discord, though, is the main point of contact for like reading our FAQ chats and understanding how things work and communicating with the team. So basically, Discord, at ATMO Esports, you can go there. And then Crucian and the team will be running the broadcasts on twitch.tv /ATMO Esports. Socials are all on Twitter at ATMO Esports and Instagram at ATMO Esports. We're everywhere. But it's coming up 24th of January, guys. Daymar Rally back on.
Yep. And it'll be linked down below in the show notes for you guys. Crucian, any last, you can also put out your socials. I mean, as you said, you do your own streaming and content if you'd like.
I mean, that's not that important, but I mean, it's just at Crucian Gaming everywhere. Like I am working on getting myself back into streaming. Is just, I like to have everything, a certain way in my room and making sure everything's perfect. But as you can see there, we got like, I have a lot of statues and stuff, backlight. I'm putting cameras that people can see around the room and stuff. So just working on a lot of that stuff. But honestly, like you can find me casting just about every single event we do here at ATMO Esports. And just to add to Corsair, we're not only on Twitch, we stream on YouTube as well. We stream all on X and even on Kick. We're just trying to kind of, help us allow to spread that word across, different platforms so people can see how incredible not only Star Citizen is, but, what these racers and what these events do and putting on an incredible show for everybody. So
awesome, man. Well, thank you guys both once again for everything you do for the community, for coming on to the show today, and for the great conversation. And thank you all once again for listening. You're fantastic listeners. You just wonderful. I can tell from here. Again, future listening. Great job, guys. If you are on a non-audio platform and you would prefer to stay away from YouTube, you can join an audio platform. Spotify, Apple, Google, Pocket Cast, whatever it is you like to use, we are there in audio, ready for a review if you like the show, ready for a share if you've got friends. I know you've got friends, you popular space nerd, you. And if you'd like to play or join the community, you can join us on Discord. Supporters can come and watch the show live, and we can all rest assured that Night Vision is coming next week. The Daymar Rally is on the 24th, and Star Citizen's actually kind of kicking off pretty well for the beginning of the year. So, looking forward to another several episodes of the podcast, a lot for the rest of the year, and some good content going forward. That was my mic, sorry. Thank you guys all for joining me for the show. I hope you had a good one, and I will see you all next week.